genomenon, the Son of God became a man, an analysis of Galatians 4:4. The context of Galatians 4:4 highlights that the Son of God was sent from the Father, asserting that there was an existing relationship between them prior to his being sent. The Greek phrase, sent forth, exapesteilen, connotes the sending out of someone from a particular place where they already were, in the case of Christ, from the Father out of heaven, as the Son of God himself attested. His being sent forth into the world is clear evidence that he had come into existence prior to his being sent. Furthermore, it is important to note that the sending forth of the Son of God cannot be understood as some time subsequent to his having came to be of a woman, as being sent from the Father is synonymous with being sent into the world mentioned in the Gospels, which is antithetical to leaving the world and going to the Father who sent him. The use of the Greek word, genomenon, came to be, or became, in Galatians 4:4 refers to a transition from one state to another, rather than having come into existence absolutely. Remarkably, the form, genomenon, from 1096 𝐓𝐡𝐞 is used in only one other verse in the NT in reference to a person to Luke 18:24, where it describes how a rich young ruler became sad, transition of emotional state, to highlighting the unique significance of its use in Galatians 4:4 to emphasize the Son of God's transition from his heavenly state to becoming fully human. The context of Galatians 4, as well as the way genomenon is used in Scripture, does not support the translation, came into existence, as that fails to convey the intended sense within the context. And thus the rendering, came to be of a woman, is appropriate and reinforces the intended sense, that the Son of God became something that he was not before, namely a man, and also indicates something unique and significant about the Son of God, as it only holds meaning for one who was not previously of a woman and only became so. In this way, the phrase highlights the fact that the Son became fully human and not just a divine being in human form. The sense is continued in the phrase, came to be under the law, 4:4b. In Matthew 17:25-27, Jesus paid the temple tax not because he was obligated to, but to avoid offense. As the divine Son of God, he was above the law, but voluntarily placed himself under it to fulfill its purpose. Came to be under the law emphasizes his willingness to become subject to the law, despite his intrinsic superiority to it. Something additional to note is the significant difference between genow and genomenon in Galatians 4. While genow is used by Paul to describe the natural birth of human beings in Galatians 4:23, 24, and 28, he deliberately uses genomenon to describe the Son of God becoming a human being in Galatians 4:4. Paul's deliberate choice of wording in Galatians 4:4 lets out that he is not referring to the procreation of the Son of God through Mary, but rather to the sending forth exapesteilen of the Son of him, from the Father, who became a human being of a woman. Compare Phil 2:7. By using genomenon, Paul emphasizes that Jesus' birth was not merely a matter of his coming into existence but rather a deliberate act of condescension by the Son of God, so that we may become children of God, be exalted through faith in Jesus Christ. Galatians 4:5-7. The idea that the Son of God became fully human, more specifically a man, as a son of David, is an essential doctrine of the faith because it is supported by the continuity of numerous New Testament passages and is foundational to the Christian understanding of salvation. Some interpreters have argued that Jesus could not be the Son of God who became the Son of David, based on a selective reading of certain passages, but a careful study of the New Testament as a whole reveals that these concepts are not in contradiction. The Son of God, who came forth out of the Father before the world was, at the appointed time, came to be of a woman, a son of David, to fulfill the prophecy of the promised Messiah.